I am. I'm Lisa Partridge, Director of College Counseling. And I'm actually some of you on your college council. And we have some parents in the room. Great! Yay! So we're also being filmed. So I want you to turn around, wave at the camera, because your parents may see this later. Let them know you're well. Wave. So your parents will have an opportunity to view this as well, but know that you are their ambassadors, and it's your responsibility to do the follow through on these documents. We decided that it's so important that you have this information, that we have this separate piece today, just so that we can walk through the documents. Try to stay with it. We do have some references in your resource book, and remember that handbook I showed you? Quickly with the timeline. Now, much of this process is also highlighted in that handbook. So if you have a question later, you can go back, look at that resource. It's a really good resource when we get to the bank documents. Okay? There's one thing I want to talk about, particular, that always comes up with international students. Sometimes you're hesitant to take that more advanced course because you want the better grade point average. I will tell you that colleges are looking for strength of program, that you're taking the most advanced courses that you can possibly take. And if you're recommended for AP Language or AP Literature and English next year, you need to step it up and do that. Okay? Really important. You might say, I'll just take the honors course because I'll get the better grade. What we're doing is we're working at better analysis, better writing standards, right? That you're prepared for those selective colleges. So to best prepare yourself, take that most advanced class. If you're a math, you think of yourself as a math and science student, right? Those are your strengths. I'm not great in English. You're going to have to become great in English, right? That's why your parents sent you here. So please take the most advanced course possible to you. And so much can happen this spring in your writing classes. This is really where you're going to be able to improve the work that will show up on your TOEFL, the test of English as a foreign language. This is when you need to start sitting at lunch with English speakers so you can improve your speaking skills, right? It's really important. Get outside of your comfort zone, start talking with the other kids at lunch, maybe pick one person, maybe a faculty member to begin with, because maybe you're more comfortable with that faculty person, but start having lunch and conversations to improve your testing. It doesn't happen overnight. It starts now. And it can't be just enough with Mr. Monticello. You need to keep building this out. So, it is rare for test scores to count more. Wait for that bounce. It is rare for test scores to count more than the actual courses and grades, but one area is that TOEFL. That's going to stop you if your score doesn't come up to a certain level. It's going to determine which colleges you can apply to and which colleges you can't. Because some schools have what they call an actual cutoff. If you don't reach that number, they're not going to open the file. They don't want to see that application. Okay? And then what always happens is between minimum and average. Right? So colleges will actually publish minimum TOEFL score. That means just enough to open up the file. Doesn't mean you stop there. You need to then look at what is the average TOEFL score for that school. What is it that they admitted in the year just before yours in the application process? And we can help you find that information. But you will do the research. We're going to show you how to do the research, but you will do the research. One great thing is about TOEFL, some schools will take your SAT score if you have a high enough evidence-based reading and writing score. On that first section of the SAT, evidence-based reading and writing, if you're up into the 600, 620, then many of the colleges will waive the TOEFL. Not all, but there are a number of them that will. So if you get up into that range and you can show that evidence of support, then you won't have to provide a TOEFL. Again, you have to go to each school's website. And I think what's really important is that you have to go to the individual websites and look at the pages for international students and the requirements. A lot of students will say, well, that wasn't on the Common App. Well, that's not detailed information on applying and how to apply. It doesn't talk at all about what an international student needs to do in addition to the basic Common App. So don't skip the individual college information. And besides, you might want to make a contact at that college with their international representative. So if you want to ask a question by email, we'll help make sure that everything's correct in that email before you send it off. And you can start a relationship with somebody in the office that kind of opens up your file and makes you more than just grades, SAT scores, TOEFL. They'll actually get to know you. I just had a conversation with someone from yesterday from Binghamton University in New York about a student, and they were talking about how they've been emailing back and forth with one of our students and how pleased they were with their ability to get back to them and how well they wrote, and it was great to get that phone call. You do make an impression. I would encourage you to stop using your translators. Please go to the English-only sites, right? You're not going to have time to do the translation. You have to be thinking in English. Maybe it gives you headaches, but you have to let go of your translators. You're not going to be ready for the testing. And remember, you ask us for help. I don't read in German. I'm very limited. It's English only. I don't read in German, I don't read in Chinese, I don't read Turkish, right? So if it shows up and there's another language there, I can't help you navigate. So make sure that your computers are using the English-only versions. So there is nothing that we can put in place of the time that you spend reading in English. And I'm not saying you have to read a novel a week. I'm just saying you need to at least pick up American magazines or English, written in English magazines and start reading in-depth articles like you're going to have to on the testing, right? So again, you don't have to read a full-fledged novel or book, but you need to be reading every day in English. And not just online newspapers, because you only get the short pieces, briefings on those. I'm looking for full articles, okay, start to finish. So that will help you improve. We are, how many of you know when the TOEFL is being offered on campus this spring? Okay, so 2 dates, right, on campus here, February 3. And the other one's February 18th. Those should be familiar. You should be in one of those 2 testings unless we've already talked about a TOEFL that's strong enough that we'll say, we'll wait until summer before you have to take another test. So do you know where that test is offered? On campus? Yes. Great. Great. And you need to bring your passports. And you print out your ticket, right? It's just like going to another school for a test, another TOEFL test center. If you show up without your ticket, Mrs. Gould cannot let you in. If you show up without your passport, Mrs. Gould cannot let you in. Yes?
I have a question. What qualifies you to take the TOEFL?
So sometimes we have some French-speaking families that are from Canada, and a student may not have, they may have been schooled in English, but another language is spoken in the home daily. So you can take the test of English as a foreign language if there's been another language spoken in your home, and that's the primary language, even though the schooling has been in English. So we might say, after we see some scores, and we can look at the PSAT scores for this, we might say this student would benefit from a TOEFL test. If its first language is English, then no. But if there was another language spoken in the home all of the time, then yes. Right. Yeah. So it's all individualized. We can make a recommendation when we see what's going on. But typically, if English was a language in the home and most of the instruction, and at least in high school, then they don't take the TOEFL and it won't benefit them. Good question. So, for instance, there's a large population in Fall River, Massachusetts of Portuguese-speaking families, and the kids have gone to school in English the whole time, but Portuguese is spoken in the home. So those students actually benefit from the TOEFL. So here's your timeline. We'd like to have the spring test because that helps us with your college list and how things are going. And we can predict out over time how much improvement there can be with some test prep in just classroom learning. Just being a good student, going to have lunches with those other kids from the US or other English-speaking countries, right? Just being a student, we can kind of judge what that score is going to look like by senior year. And then in the summer, we'd like for you to take that final test. If you need to, we will have a fall test on campus at the very beginning of school. And that will be the last time. So there's some sample university TOEFL requirements. The University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign has been a popular large flagship university in the state of Illinois that's been attractive to our students, especially our civil engineering students, packaging engineering students. So the business for business and engineering is about the same. The middle 50% of the accepted applicants on the 1600 scale SAT is 1330 to 1430. The TOEFL is 103 to 110. Okay. So how many students here were thinking about the University of Illinois at all? No? So I'll show you BU. Does that change it? Anybody here thinking about Boston University? Raise your hand. Okay, so a few more. Scrub gold here. So BU gives you an average, but they don't stop there. They tell you what they want the sub-scores to look like. So you can't just go by that final end result. You need to look at the sub-scores and how you're doing there. Another school, Carnegie Mellon in Pennsylvania, they require that each of the sub-scores be at a 25 as a minimum to open the file. Okay. BU's particular about each section. So they'll take a listening of 18, but they want that writing and the speaking up there. And when they get to the School of Management, you can see that change. You see that change in reading? It jumps from the 21 to a 25 requirement. So it depends on the program that you're applying to. So you need to do your research. I'm bringing this up so that you know that there's a lot of work you're going to have to do. You're going to put together some spreadsheets, right? So that you're prepared and you know what's expected of you. Finances. There's a few more forms that all international students need to provide. You might be familiar with them because you may have had to provide some of these same forms to Tilton School when you applied here. So these declaration and certification forms, which I shortened to DCF, declaration and certification of finance forms, in addition to a bank statement that shows where that money is and which bank and where the dollars are. And I say dollars because it has to be actually transferred into dollar amounts for the colleges. They don't want to see your country's money. They want to see it translated into dollars. Okay? So a number of schools are going to require this in order for you to apply, and you're not a completed application and you haven't met the deadline unless these forms are in, same as your SAT score, same as your grades, and the application fee. They don't count you as complete until these pieces are there. And that's why you need to start talking to your families about these forms that are going to go through, okay? Because you have to have them ready to send off. And they need theirs, they need the parent signature and the student signature. You can't do it last minute. And your parents can't go to the bank official at the last minute. In many countries, you have to make an appointment. It might be 3 weeks before you can see the bank official. So it takes some thinking and some ahead of time work. So we want you to do this over the summer. Once your college list is set, you have to use the individual college form. So again, some choices have to be made. To be timely on this. In order to know which form you're using, you have to know which college you're applying to. So what we ask you to do is also choose the college that's the most expensive. Usually that's Boston University, the most expensive school, and be able to document those funds. So again, around half of the colleges on your list will require this form due with your application, and the other half won't need it until you're admitted. Because really what they're doing is they're documenting for the U.S. government that you're coming into the country, again, for the purpose of education, and that you're going to be able to fund everything. You're not going to become a responsibility of the U.S. government, that you can show that you have enough money in order to continue your studies here. So the government requires the universities to get this information. So some of them don't care about seeing it until you decide if you're going there. They don't want to collect all the info. Here is a copy of one of those declaration and certification of finance forms, so that you can see there has to be a student signature, and then there's information here for the parent right above. Okay. This is on the website in the handbook. We will mail this out to your parents in June so they can see it again. If your parents don't read or write in English, then you need to be the responsible parties in explaining these documents to them. Okay? You need their help, and they need yours. There's a copy of this also in the book that I gave you, the resource book that you have in front of you. This is the bank document, right? One is the declaration form. You're saying, yes, the money is available for education. We agree we're going to take this money, we're going to use it for the purpose of educating our child. And you all sign off that you know and you understand the cost. This document is a certificate of deposit that shows where the money is. It has to have been in there at least 6 months before you apply. You have to show that it's been there. Okay, have any questions about that? So there's some other documents that are typically required, guys, when you apply to a U.S. college. They might want a picture of your passport photo scanned and then upload it into the application somewhere or email. There'll be specific directions. Again, where do you get that? Where do you get that information? Not on the Common App. Where do you go? You're right. To the individual college admissions directions on how to apply as an international student. They're going to give you that information. It's not the same process at every school. You have to see how they want it. Some people want hard copies, original documents, signed, sealed, a chop, right? Others will take scanned copies, again with the chop. It depends on the universities. Okay, so there's quite a bit of research being done. So you're going to see that the college is going to ask for a copy of your current I-94 card. That's a card when you come into the United States. The last time it came in, they would give you a little white card, the I-94, and they would put it into your passport. It doesn't exist anymore. It's all computerized. But you're going to see a request for that still on the college website because they haven't quite caught up with the fact that there is no I-94 card. So I don't want you to worry about that. I bring it up because it doesn't exist anymore. It's an internal internet piece that they actually keep a record of. You're coming and going, and you're not going to be able to submit it because it doesn't exist. And I'll have students come in and say, what am I going to do about this? I'm not going to be complete. I'm not going to have everything in. And I try to tell them it's okay. They just haven't caught up with the process and updated it. And then you need a copy of your current F1 student visa page. You're all F1 students. That's your category. That's your legal status in the United States as students. So they need a copy of that. They need to see where it was issued and when it's also going to expire. So we'll help you scan those too and help you again provide those documents. So somehow you've gotten to Tilton Graduation, right? And you have a place to go and all your documents are in. Do you have questions about the process, about TOEFL? Yes, because if you have a question, they all have a question. Yeah, so, So the question is, how will my standardized testing be reviewed for SAT or ACT? And in that evidence-based reading and writing, or the reading and writing sections of ACT, am I expected to perform at the same level as the student I'm competing with from the US? And the answer is no, you're not. That's why you have the TOEFL test, right? So they use this many times in place of the evidence-based reading and writing. Okay. So they're looking for your score in evidence-based reading and writing on the SAT, but a student with a 550 evidence-based reading and writing might get into NYU, and a US kid probably wouldn't get into NYU without a 700 in evidence-based reading and writing. But your TOEFL has to be up there. Right, TOEFL score only, but not the SAT. So again, when I talked about the school not, looking for certain minimum scores in order to read your file, I was referencing the TOEFL test, not the SAT. There is no minimum. There's not going to be a minimum that you have to achieve in order to apply on those tests, SAT or ACT. Thanks for that. So do we need to focus more on TOEFL? I think that's your job right now, is focusing on the TOEFL and getting ready for that February test, yes. And then just kind of going along and doing your regular prep every week for the SAT. So that's kind of the question of, should I take the most rigorous courses or focus on what my grade point average is going to be? Both is the answer. But right now, first things first, I would take the TOEFL test, get ready for that. Any other questions about timeline? And so the people with phones in their hands must be looking up the college requirements for the DCF, right? Right, come up and get them. So this is an opportunity to ask any questions that are particular to you. Sure.
Is there a difference between college and academy?
Yes. So that's a great question about college and university. So there was Harvard College. It's also known as Harvard University, right? And it used to be you were able to say universities had big research sections of them, and colleges didn't do as much research. There were more teaching facilities, right? And they were more liberal arts, and they usually didn't have an engineering school. They didn't have a separate school of business. They offered liberal arts programming, and so instead of being a business major, you'd be an economics major, and that would be in a college. And it's really confusing, guys. The reason they ask this is because in Canada, if you go to college, it's high school, right? Still, or the SAGEP and the 13th year, and also technical. So here we use them interchangeably. They're all leading to that first 4-year degree, a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts degree. So that very first university degree or college degree, the Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts.
In college, you can't go to a college and get a doctorate.
So that's not a yes and no. The United States has started some direct entry medical school admissions. They take you all the way through medical school, and then there's another little review. But those are very few schools that offer that. Very
University, all universities.
No, right. No professional programs are direct, and you're done in 4 or 5 years. You have to do your first undergraduate, and then you may move on to a master's, and to a PhD or an MD. Yeah. So a liberal arts college will ask students to take more, and you guys, can you answer this? Okay. So what is a liberal arts college compared to a university? So a liberal arts college will ask students, while they're going to be an economics major, while they're going to be an English major, while they're going to be a Spanish major, that they're going to take courses in each of the other areas of study, all disciplines. They want a well-rounded education, right? So they ask you, you're going to do a lot more writing. You're still going to take math, no matter what you major in. You're still going to be taking math as you go through. And university programs are a little bit more defined, in that you're going to take most of your courses in that academic discipline in that area, and it's usually a kind of pre-professional piece, like for the undergraduate engineers. Most of their courses are their 122 credits are going to be in that area. And less writing, not less math, because I chose a math science area, but less writing. They're not going to have to take a foreign language while they're there. Yeah. Same amount of credits typically. They would go to a university for engineering. They wouldn't go to the liberal arts school. You can get a Bachelor of Science in biology or one of the natural sciences, but not in a pre-professional program. It's a whole new system. Yeah. Those are great questions.
If you're thinking about like a college or university outside of the United States, is there anything else other than SAT?
Your AP. So a lot of the universities and other countries, because they don't have anything to equate our educational system with, will take the advanced placement exams. So your exams you take in the spring, those scores, and then the scores from the following spring, which don't come out until July after you graduated. So you often don't hear from those universities until later. And it depends on the country that you're looking at. And we can help guide you through that, what you need to prepare. But typically, one piece will be your advanced placement courses. So if you're going to, so do you remember, we had some students apply last year to the University of Leiden and some other schools in Europe, and they didn't know which school they got into until July because of the scores. Yeah. But which country are you thinking?
I'm thinking like going back to Korea or maybe like Great Britain.
Okay. So the Great Britain I just talked a little bit about, that would be the same kind of opportunity. And in Korea, it depends. You might have to go back and take an exam. And whether you're going to look at an American school that's in Korea or a Korean university. Okay. So I can help you with that because that's happening. Yes?
I'm looking to be like minimum TOEFL scores for colleges or like universities. And some of them, it says no. So like they don't require minimum amount.
Right, they're going to look at you. That's what it means. Yeah. They'll open your file and they'll review everything in there, and they don't have a minimum.
Or same as SAT or like.
Typically, colleges don't have a minimum, or universities a minimum SAT.
And they're like ready to use.
They're still great, yeah. Yep. Still great schools. So, you know, it might be Buffalo State, might be, they don't put a minimum. All right, so where are you going to next? Oh, yes, and I'm not sure, can you tell me what time we start this on?
10:40.
Okay, so you have time for more questions. Okay, here's a great question. So, a student wants to know about their actual test results for AP. So is it better to take the class even if you don't have a great score at the end? You do not have to provide your AP scores to universities and colleges in the United States if you're applying in the U.S. You don't have to show them your scores. So your actual daily work and the reference that you get from your teacher is the most important, right? So it is, yes, still worth taking it. And you're preparing for the work at the college level, so you want to have that exposure. If you're ready for it, take it. And you don't ever have to show anybody that score. Now, you might want to, so of course your goal is to perform well on that test score, right? So that you can present it, but you don't have to. Anybody else? Alice?
There's something that we use for, you know, the English
So which school was that? Okay. So Alice said that she looked at NYU, and that they say on their website that if you've been in a English instruction school, English speaking school, and the instruction was English for 3 years, that you do not have to provide a TOEFL test.
Yeah, like a language.
A language test, right? But they're going to use. Then they expect that your SAT is going to be up there with the other competitors. So that's why I have a job. So you need our help interpreting which way you're going to present your file. So we'll help you with that.
Going to high school and I was then coming here for 2 years, skipping speech language. For him to finish with 80 universities, or anything he actually did
So he's going to be reviewed from outside, from Tilton School. We have a young man who's a freshman at McGill. who came to us and studied here. They just review the file 2 ways. They'll look at the information from Canada, do the review, and then they know our school. So they do the evaluation from the U.S. system. It's not going to be any different.
Do we fill out the same application form that we would have filled out in Canada?
That's the Canadian form, yes, yes,
So he's not keen on it,
right.
And they use, I guess they'll use SAT.
They'll use the SAT. Yep. Well, they still want to have that because they know he has it, that they know that also is going through, so they want to see what he's done along with everybody else in his class. Yeah.
Do you know, like, if you compare now, like, if they have a different amount of students,
He's going to be a Canadian student. But, right, but even though they're going to use a little bit different information, we still want to see the SAT. That's what happened with this young man. Yeah, sorry, but Lisa is right in front of me. So the question is, should I take AP English or should I take the AP Science and the Math? Mr. Gu, can you move away from Charles? Can you move? Just, yeah, go up a row. Thank you. So they want to know the importance of the courses, how they're going to be reviewed. Is AP Language going to be viewed as more important and valuable than AP Science? They're equally valuable. And it just depends on what you're preparing for. Again, what kind of major you're thinking about studying when you're in university and how, your level of work, what you need to present. But if you're recommended for both classes, you should take both classes.
But there's some certain AP classes that are like considered a hard AP, like AP Chem, that they're very relevant to your major. So if you have those kind of AP scores, it can help.
Well, of course, you're just keeping in mind that Tilton School wants you to take the most advanced courses that you're ready for anyway. So we're going to be pushing you towards whatever the teacher recommends you for in that next level. So the teacher is going to be the one that determines where you should go next. And of course, you should take what you're ready for. So there are some soft APs, right? And the way you can tell a soft AP is by the number of hours for the test, right? So AP Psych, it's only a 2-hour test. So it's considered, it might not be soft for an international student because you're doing lots of reading and writing and research and you're documenting and learning how to write a paper. So in your case, it can be an advantage. So you can't just look at it one way, right? It's going to show some strengths in your ability to analyze, put together a research paper. So that's important. That's your benefit as an international student with that AP Psych course. But that is how the colleges will look at which one might be a little softer than another. It is not just one piece of information separate from all of you, right? You got to look at how you're best presenting yourself and your background. But, yeah.
Oh,
Now, do you have a question?
yeah,
Okay.
just one more. It's about the college process that students are going to do. Are we starting next week?
The week of January 23, the first full week of classes. That's when you start. So if you have questions next week and you want to make individual appointments, remember these are group meetings and you're required to come in and have one-on-one. So within the first 3 weeks of college counseling, we expect to see you at least once. We'll have sign-up sheets on our doors and you can sign in for a free period that you have. Okay? So if we're free and you're free, come on in. So that's a minimum, right? We need to see you at least once individually during that first 3 weeks. But we'll, as much as and as often as we're free and you're the beginning, for that one-on-one, it should be your counselor, because they're going to be making the recommendations for you. They're going to be that person who puts together your college list. Okay? But if you have a quick question, and you just want to grab somebody in the office, you just come in and ask any of us. Anything else? I really want you to pay attention to those TCF forms and the bank statements, and working with your parents on those. I can't impress upon you the importance of having those ready on time. And that your parents just do not go to the bank official and get those overnight, right? Like I said, sometimes it's 3 weeks for an appointment, depends on the country. Else? Financial aid for international students. Yes. We have a list of colleges that do provide information and scholarship money for international students. So, one is based on need, your family's ability to pay. So they're going to have to see tax returns if your country has them. They're going to have to see asset information. They're going to have to see a lot of documentation in order for them to give you their money. Then there's merit-based. It's just based on your academic ability and the fact that they want you. And you don't have to provide anything other than your stellar application and strong performance in school, right? So that's their gift money, straight out merit money. The other money, based on your need, is going to require some documentation. Did you hear the gentleman last night talk about need-aware schools? Okay, so he talked about schools that considered your ability to pay when they're reviewing your file. So if it came down to 2 students, the one who could afford to pay may get in, and the other one who needs maybe significant amounts of their money is not going to get in. So you're putting yourself in a different reading situation, a different evaluation at schools that are need aware you think you're going to apply. So I caution you on that, on applying for financial aid. If you need it, you need it. There's no way around it, right? If you have family need, then you should be doing that. We'll help you with a list. It's usually not more than half of the tuition. Now remember, tuition is only one part of the fees. To go to college, university, you have tuition, your room, and your board, your food on campus, and other fees, maybe insurance, other things that are included. So they're not giving you half of the comprehensive fees. They might be giving you half of just the tuition portion. So you still have to pay a significant dollar amount. Yes?
Can I work and pay for my own college as an international student?
So your F1 student visa does not allow you to go out and get a job off campus. You're saying that you can support yourself. That's why you're documenting this money. You're showing that you're not going to be out looking for a job, that the money's already there. You're proving that it's available and ready. So there is an exception on campus job, work study, which is usually not more than $2,000 a year on campus. So that's more like you're spending money that you're working for. Okay. So the colleges have lots of jobs on campus. It's called work study opportunity, but it's usually about $2,000.
The only grade that matters.
The end of year grades are the only ones that show up on the transcript, except for senior year. So we'll show a first quarter grade for when you apply, and we'll also show follow up with the semester.
So after the 6 months, then
So, yeah.
so